David, right? I remember you, right? Yeah. How was your Shabbat? Good. Okay, so we're learning about relationships. If you remember last class, we talked about the pasuk "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." We saw Rashi, the Rambam, and the Ramban, different meanings of how can you actually be expected to love someone like yourself. And just to recap briefly, almost it sounds like the commentators were saying you can't. It's impossible. You love yourself. That's natural. That's, you have an ego. You have, that's who you are. Really what the Torah meant to be, they said love somebody else like yourself. Like yourself. It's the way you treat yourself, you should treat the other. How do you treat yourself? You treat yourself. Who remembers what the two things the Rambam mentioned that you have to care for yourself and therefore care about somebody else? It's been a whole week, I know. Rambam said two things primarily, they're pretty much examples. There's two things that just like you care about for yourself, what you should care about for somebody else. What do you care about for yourself?
Providing the basic needs.
Right, your possessions. He mentions your possessions that you care about your own things, your own.
Your reputation.
Reputation, exactly. Very good, very good. Just like you care about your reputation, and your possessions. So for somebody else, you should praise him, say good things about him, and so that he gets a good reputation, and also that if his property is in danger, you should take care of it and help him. Very good. Okay, very practical directions. The Sefer Ikarim, he has a different interpretation, perhaps something closer to we all expect. What we naturally say that you should, when you love your neighbor as yourself. It sounds like you should love him like you love yourself. What does that mean, and how do we do that? So before we read the Sefer Ikarim, I want to ask you the following question. When you have a relationship, okay, we'll talk about marriage. That's really the relationship which people work on, people start off with. But the truth is, it's true about any relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your roommate, with your chavrusa. But let's talk about a marriage too, husband and wife. What is the most important tool that you have to use in that relationship? Communication. I was expecting somebody to say, you have
the mindset.
Same mindset, thinking. Yeah, same values. Yeah, okay. It's as in terms of tools, when you speak about a husband and wife, so you have the physical relationship, you have intimacy. That's a tool of working on the relationship. It's a part of the way we develop a relationship. But you're absolutely right, and that communication, talking is, I believe, the primary tool that we have. What's a tool in Cantonese? Janshan? Like a hammer, a knife, a wrench, tools. Knife and fork. A workman comes to fix your sink, to fix your appliances. He has tools. He's a little toolkit. What's that called? Toolbox. Okay. That's it. Okay. That's it. So what's the tool? The most important tool is conversation. It's conversation. It's talking. Amazing. Amazing. That's why it's so hard when you don't speak the same language. You can. I know I have many students who got married to people who speak Americans, got married to Israelis, or the opposite, and you can overcome it, but you have to have some basic ability to communicate with words, or you're in trouble. Because it's like trying to come on over. I want you to help me fix the electricity, but you have to tie your hands behind your back. What am I supposed to use? You can, the basic tools is talking. Why is that? How does that work? Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit this time. So here's a page. The last time I gave you the pages, there was this source on the back, but I added a few sources this time. So here, pass these around, please. And we should take one. And we're going to start with the Rav Yosef Albo, who first of all actually speaks about what it means that you should love someone else as yourself. It's not just about treating him with respect and protecting his reputation and fighting for him or protecting his money. It's not just actions, it's not just external actions, but it's much, much more. It's what we would call perhaps having a relationship. So the Hebrew's here, but also the English, and since this is a class for everybody, we're just going to go straight to the English, but you have the Hebrew above. There's a few more other sources at the end of the Hebrew as well, but pretty much the main part I translated for you here. I don't know of a translation into English of the book of Ikarim. There must be somewhere, but I didn't find it online, so I translated it myself. I hope you help me correct the translation on the fly. Okay, so David, will you read for us, please?
The English one?
From.
Yeah, okay. From it is necessary to feel any hurt or pain.
What? From? That doesn't make sense. From this,
Okay.
it follows, is what it should say. I guess I got to correct this text. From this, it follows that it is necessary. Go ahead.
To feel any hurt or pain towards his friend and compatriot.
Compatriot is like a friend. Yeah, a friend, a buddy, comrade. That's right. Right. What from this? What he's starting off is from the mitzvah of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha. It's a perush on you should love your neighbor as yourself. So if you love your neighbor as yourself, so you should. What does he say? You should feel any hurt or pain that befalls his friend and compatriot. Now, it doesn't just say act, protect his possessions or protect his reputation. It says you should feel any hurt or pain that befalls his friend. So that, go ahead,
so that he will make effort to save him like he would put himself in danger for himself.
You are in danger, you're going to do everything you can to get out of danger. That's natural survival instinct. And he says, so the mitzvah of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha is to invest effort for your friend as much as you would for yourself. If you were in danger, you'd take the risk to save yourself, do whatever you need to. So for him too, you got to really, like he's an extension of yourself. Also, go ahead.
Also that he should not withhold from him something that he knows or can tell that others are plotting to hurt him or thinking ill of him.
Or something else that if you know that somebody's plotting against you, you're going to protect yourself. So if you know that someone else is under threat, people are planning something against him, for sure you should tell him. And he should reveal, go ahead.
And you should reveal to him his secrets and hidden parts of his heart, like he reveals them to himself. Okay,
stop here. Now we're already at a third level. This is already a deeper level. It says, it's not only that you should feel for your friend and invest efforts for him and don't withhold information that could help him. He says you should reveal to him his secrets. If you love your friend, you're going to be open with him and bare your soul. Talk to him. Talk to him about how you are, how you are feeling with him. Just like you are open, hopefully, with yourself about how you are feeling, right? You, to yourself, you know how you feel, hopefully. Maybe you need to go to a psychologist to really get to the bottom of how you're feeling, but a healthy person knows how he's feeling today. I'm feeling sad because this person hurt me, and you can, Rabbi Nachman says you should talk to yourself. But make sure you do it in the forest so people don't think you're crazy, right?
Make sure you have earplugs.
Aha. Yeah, that's it. But you should be revealing to yourself, you should be aware of how you're feeling and tell it. So, same thing. You should, if you love him like you love yourself, it's almost like he's saying your friend is going to be an extension of yourself. Go ahead.
For his friend is not someone other than himself, and it is fitting to love him like he loves himself. Just like loving yourself, you have no otherness. So loving your friend, do not think that he is something other than you. That is the definition of complete love, that the lover unites with the beloved. That's why the gematria of love is 1. For the beloved is not other to you at all. And therefore you shall trust him and reveal to him his secrets like he reveals to himself. You trust him like one of your compatriots.
Okay, what's the Hebrew word of love?
Ahava. It's not one. The gematria is
Aleph is 1. What's Hey? 5. 2. How much is that? 13. Okay, now Echad.
The same.
1 plus how much is 8?
8.
And Daled
4
equals 13. So he says this teaches you something about what love means. Love means you're one. You're united. There's no otherness. There's no me. We're not separate. Fine, I have 2 legs and you have 2 legs, and I have my eyes and you have your eyes. He says that's an illusion. That's not really the way it should be. The way it should be, what our goal is, it says you love your brother as yourself, you love your neighbor as yourself, you love your wife as yourself, right? Obviously, it's hard to think about it with your neighbor, because you may never talk to him. You may never love your neighbors is usually the translation we have for V'ahavta l'reach hakamocha. Reach means friend, actually. And we mentioned at the beginning of the class, Rabbi Akiva says that you have to, in a marriage, you have to love your wife. So, V'ahavta l'reach hakamocha, you should love your wife as yourself. What does it mean, as yourself? That do not think that he's something other than yourself. What the Ramban last week said is impossible. You can't love somebody else like yourself. Yosef Abel says that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You really should be loving someone else like yourself, because he is. You should be considered them as yourself. An extension of you. You're totally united. Melding. Your personalities just are united. One. You're one. Extreme, huh? Extreme. This is the mitzvah, according to his interpretation, is the mitzvah is to build a relationship that you feel so close that you are totally one.
That's not easy.
Not easy, huh? Yeah. Not only is it not easy, maybe it's not a good thing. Right, in a marriage, if you, should you lose your self-identity? Because if you're one with the other, you're, 1 plus 1 equals, 1 plus 1 equals? No, according to this.
3.
No, not 3.
1.
According to this, 1 plus 1 equals 1. But it's a new one. It's a different one than the one you were before, because you've added the other one. So you're not yourself. You lose yourself. A lot of people are afraid of losing themselves. I don't want to have a relationship. People are afraid of relationships today. It's the me generation. I like me. I don't want to lose me. If I lose myself, I won't be me anymore. It's all about me. I'm looking out for number one. I'm number one. You're not number one. That's by definition, you're the other. You're number two. You may be three or four, have talking about Shua. But, so you don't want to lose yourself. Nobody wants to lose himself. According to this, it sounds like your objective is to really unite with the other person so that you don't feel that they are other. You become a new person. Fine, we all want to grow, but we don't think of it so much as, I grow so much that maybe I don't recognize myself anymore. Because I am part of this union. It's maybe an extension of myself. That's a nice way to think about it. Anyways, there's a long debate. We can't solve it right now. There's a long discussion about what's the ideal in marriage. Right? We're creating a new family unit. So maybe I shouldn't be thinking about me and my spouse, or someone else. Famous story is told about Rabbi Aryeh Levine, the tzaddik of Yerushalayim. He was a student of Rav Kook. He was really big. There's a book called A Tzaddik in Our Times. It's a wonderful book. Some people say it's the best Musar sefer in the world. Just to learn from this guy, he was so amazing. He would go visit people in the hospital, not just go visit people. He went to the leper hospital. It used to be a hospital. It was only for people with leprosy. And leprosy is very, very contagious. He didn't care. He went to the prisons. He was known as the rabbi of the prisoners. And he was tremendous. Anyways, he was a big tzaddik. And the famous story goes about him, he took his wife to the doctor one day, and the doctor says, "How can I help you?" And what does Rabbi Aryeh Levine say?
Our arm is hurting.
My wife's leg is hurting us.
Oh, okay. It's close.
It's very interesting. You could say it the way you said it, but maybe there's different versions of the story. But the way I heard it's like that. In other words, of course there's me and my wife. We have separate legs, right? It's her leg, but it hurts us. We like he's so identified with his wife. He's a one with her. So of course he wants the help from the doctor just as much as his wife does. Total unity, and there's no otherness. Maybe there's a little otherness because it's her leg, but I guess you could take it to the extreme. One being that's attached to 4 legs. That doesn't. No, don't go there. Anyways. So this is an extreme level. Rav Yosef Albo says this is what it means. You should love someone else as yourself. You're so close to them that you feel unity. You feel at one with them. And most people. I've heard many times people giving advice when people get married. They say, make sure you have some time to yourself also.
It's very important.
Very important. Okay, right. You've been in relationships. You know what it's like a relationship. And it's very hard to not have an independent self. It's almost like working against nature. That's why the Ramban rejected it. He said, you can't love someone else as much as you love yourself. They're not yourself. Yosef Zalman says it is possible. And even that's what you're supposed to do. Very, very tricky business. But so as I said, we're not going to get to the bottom of this. I don't think there's one right answer either. I think there's different types of relationships, and I think that definitely there's to strive for unity, a togetherness, a feeling of closeness, so much that you don't feel other. It's the most natural thing in the world. That you share everything the way you feel with your wife. The question is, how can you foster that? How can you do that? How can you ever reach That's the level where you feel totally at one. And as I asked you before, as I said to you before, I mean, some people say, if she's the right one, or if he's the right one, it's a mystical unity. It's like from the heavens. It's just like, she's the right one. I can tell what she's feeling, even before she opens her mouth. I know what he's thinking. Now, when you're wrong, obviously that's really bad. But and it's true. Some people can be on the same wavelength. We say in English, right? You can really be. There's lots of methods of communications, nonverbal communication. Sometimes you could, if you know the person well enough, you know the way they think, so you know what they're thinking. But this is sure. There's body language. There's expressions. There's facial expressions. There's a certain vibe that maybe we can't explain in words, or you can't even measure scientifically. There is a union of souls, we say, right? There is that. But usually the medium, I don't know how to say that in Chinese, on which, or through which, two souls can unite, or, if you start off, you're on different wavelengths, you can sort of reach to each other. You go up a little, you go down a little bit, or you go right, left. And somehow, you want to have that meeting of minds, we say it in terms of intellect, a meeting of minds. You want to have a meeting of souls. How do you do that? How do you create this unity? How do you become one with somebody else? So, talking, 100. Yeah. To talk. You mean speaking, speech, absolutely. TikTok, no, not necessary. Talking, 100%. Talking is, it's the tool that we have. We're in the toolbox. What did we call it before? What? Gongkoi, the tool, the instrument, right?
Yes, correct.
The most important instrument you have is talking. But there's one more before that. We're going to talk a little bit about talking, how to talk. But there's one more even before that. And I sort of mentioned it, and he mentions it, and he says, you have to love someone else like you love yourself. Well, so you have to reveal to him your secrets like you reveal them to yourself. Aha. Here's the rub. Mm-hmm. Many of us don't know ourselves very well. Don't think about ourselves. Don't understand ourselves very well. And so, how do you expect someone else to understand you if you don't understand you? And how do you expect, if you're supposed to talk to someone else, reveal to someone else your secrets, like you reveal them to yourself, but you don't know how to do that with yourself.
Sometimes other people know you better than you.
True, but that's rare. I mean, usually, or that's a problem. That's a problem. I think, you're supposed to know yourself.
Indeed.
And so how do you get to know yourself? It's amazing. How do you...
By giving yourself that time away from your wife.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes time alone is good. We mentioned before meditation without or hitbodedut, or silent talking in private, and talking it out with God, right? That's the hitbodedut of Rabbi Nachman, right? But there's also and there's many methods of you can talk it out with someone else. Talk it out with somebody that you're not even having a relationship with. People go to a psychologist. Psychologists, the biggest, the greatest tool that they have is listening. They enable you to talk when you're not going to talk to yourself because you think you're going crazy, or you think other people are going to think you're crazy. But if you're talking to somebody else and he listens to you, so you can talk it out, as it says. It comes out of yourself and you talk. So you talk. So this some people call it talk therapy. Just by talking, that's therapy, and it's So it's not, what my point now is saying that, absolutely, we're focusing on speech, on conversation, on discussion as the primary tool for having a relationship. But it's not only about knowing the other person. It's also about, by having that conversation, you're going to get to know yourself. It's sometimes when you have a relationship with somebody else, not only do you grow to love them, you grow to love yourself. And that's key for Ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You're supposed to love him like you love yourself. It's assumed you love yourself. Nowadays, you can't assume anything. Nowadays, people have low self-esteem. Right? We've mentioned Rabbi Twersky before. If we haven't, you've heard of him, Rabbi Avraham. There's another name too, Rabbi Avraham Twersky. He was just passed away about a year ago, less maybe even. He was a psychologist, and he founded hospitals and institutions. He wrote over 30 books, maybe 60 books, and he liked to say that he wrote. And people asked him, "How did you write so many books?" He said, "To tell you the truth, I really only wrote one book." What was it? Did he write one book? I wrote one book in 60 different ways. One basic idea, which is at the core of his whole psychological practice. He was a successful career, as I said, internationally celebrated author and doctor, and he helped people heal, and he was an amazing educator. And he said, there's one basic key that I discovered early in my career, and I realized that this is what people need in our generation. This is perhaps the illness which is at the core of so many psychological illnesses. He's a psychologist, as I said. And the one core idea that he said is that people have a problem with today. It's called low self-esteem. People think of themselves poorly. Look how pretty I am. Am I not pretty? You look at me. That's it. I'm so handsome. And many of us, we look in the mirror and we say, oh, I wish my nose was longer or shorter, or I wish I had more hair. I'm not so pretty. I'm too fat, right? Speaking to women are always thinking that they don't look pretty, right? It's a big problem. People, I fight it. I'm sure we all have our fight. I'm not smart enough. The other guy's smarter. I'm not successful enough. He's somebody else, right? I'm not, people have low self-esteem. And and it's not true. It's not true. Because, there's always somebody, smarter or richer, and there's always someone poorer and stupider. Right? These things are not measurable as, it's a beauty contest. It's not to be, there's one Miss America or Miss Universe, right? So what, everybody else is not pretty?
Well, next year there can be a different one.
All right, exactly. So how does that work? How can she be the most prettiest girl in the world if there's somebody else next year? No. So obviously being pretty is not about being it's not a competition of, and it's not just about beauty, it's about everything. It's about wisdom. You were given, God gave you so many talents, and so many qualities, and you're beautiful. Now your job is, what do you do with them? And if you have a poor estimation of what your talents are and what your qualities or attributes are, it'll just push you down. You won't be able to use those talents for better things. There's always there's some parts of me that are pretty, some parts of me are not so pretty.
Right.
Really, I'm perfect, but and I have some good qualities, and I have some weak spots. But to have a relationship is it's about knowing yourself and then knowing the other. That's what Rabbi Selfesteem was saying. It's the relationship is not just acting nicely to others, taking care of their interests like they're taking care of us. That's very, very practical. That's very external. He says, no, you have to reveal your inner secrets, just like you know yourself, you know the other person. So you're at one. So what's the tool that we have is talking. Let's take a look. There's a few sources here, 3 major sources. They're basic. They're really drashot on psukim. But, okay, so the first pasuk comes from Mishlei. Sorry, is it from Mishlei? I had the source and then I erased it for some reason. What's the pasuk? Ma'im amukim. Read it for us, Shua. Read it for us. Read the pasuk. It's Mishlei Chaf. Yeah, Mishlei chapter 20. Yid lena. So what does that mean? Go ahead.
The designs in a man's mind are deep waters, but a man of understanding can draw them out.
Okay, so Ma'im amukim.
Deep waters.
Eitza belevish. Deep waters are Eitza. Eitza is. Here he says the designs. Belevish in a man's mind. What lev? What's lev? Heart. That's right. So heart. It's hard to translate. In the biblical times, the heart was not necessarily the seat of the emotions. The seat of the emotions was the kidneys. The seat of the heart is the place where you. What does it say? Kaved lev paro, Parshat Shavua, right? The heart of Parshat was hardened his heart. Was it all about emotions? It was his decision-making abilities to let them go or not to let them go. So God is weighing down his decision capability. It's not necessarily about his emotions. So in any case, Ma'im amukim. They're deep waters. Deep waters. You have a treasure, deep sea. You got to go dive. You got to draw them up. How do you draw them up? You need to put on a suit, a pressure suit, right, to go to deep diving. So he says, what does the pasuk say? Ish tivuna, a man of understanding. Yidlena, lidlot is to draw out, to draw them up. So you need an ish etzot. We mentioned before, a psychologist, somebody's a man of understanding, a wise man. Part of his job is to draw out the waters from you. You have designs in your heart or in your mind. You have all sorts of feelings in you. You need somebody who's an ish tevuna, a man of understanding, that's able to draw them out. So sometimes your friend, sometimes yourself, you could be an ish etzah, but sometimes you need a professional. Who's a professional man of understanding in this context? A psychologist, right? Or a therapist of some sort, right? We say talk therapy. We say somebody who knows how to do it, knows how to draw out yourself. As I said, Rav Yosef Abel said, "Oh, of course you reveal your secrets to yourself." Right? What did Freud discover? That we have a subconscious, right? We have so many feelings that we don't even know about. We don't even know about ourselves, what our feelings are, what our thoughts are. But they're there. They're there. And what did Freud use primarily to draw out that subconscious, those feelings that he used hypnosis and also dream therapy. He says, analyze your dreams. In your dreams, the subconscious pops up when you're not using your rational faculty. And then, of course, it's a little bit hard to translate from dream world to real emotions. But the Gemara already talks about that. The Gemara says, if you see this in a dream, it means X, Y, Z, right? Yosef.
I'm learning it right now.
Yeah, you're learning brachot?
Yeah, I'm doing it with him, and it's
fascinating.
a long stick, like, okay, you do this comes up.
Right.
This.
Right. It's tricky.
But a lot of times also the Rabbi connect like a psychologist in that way. So people come to rabbis to tell me they're coming for advice for.
It's true. It's
for
true.
this kind of stuff.
It's a little tricky. You have to make sure that sometimes the rabbis are very good at being wise, understanding, in terms of pulling out from the depths of yourself what your feelings are and what your needs are and what your sensitivities are. But sometimes the rabbis are good at halakha.
Depends
Right.
on the rabbi. Yeah.
Depends on the rabbi. Depends on your training. Some rabbis are trained and sometimes they're not. Sometimes from learning Torah you can get a lot of human insight, but sometimes not. So you have to find the right rabbi. But also sometimes the rabbi will say, listen, I understand your issue here. I can't help you. Go to an expert. Go to the medical expert. Go to the psychologist. Rabbis have to know what they're good at, what they're not good at. I mean, I did some training in psychotherapy, so, but I have to know when it comes to real pathology, if somebody is really sick. I'm not a doctor, and so you have to be wise. It's wise to know what you know and what. Sometimes you draw things up, and it's dangerous. It can be dangerous to bring things up from your subconscious. Why are they in your subconscious? Because maybe you're not ready to handle it. It could drive you crazy. It could make you angry. It could make you violent. You could be violent against others, violent against yourself. It could be really, really bad for you to just draw things up if you're not in a protected environment. So you really need a wise man, wise understanding. How does a wise man of understanding pull them up, the designs in a man's mind from the deep waters? Primarily through talking. Sometimes they use hypnosis. That's a way to get you to talk. But nowadays they have all sorts of hallucinogenics are becoming even approved in some countries to allow you to bypass all sorts of blockages which you can't get. But again, it's very dangerous business. Maybe there's some spiritual rabbis who actually have the sixth sense. Maybe they have some kind of spiritual capabilities of seeing into your soul and really understanding you more than you have. Could be. But in any case, primarily, I believe the answer is the next source. The next source, the Gemara says, Daga belev ish yashchena, which means, the pasuk says, if there's a care in man's heart, let him quash it. Crush it. Yashchena. Yishach means to bring low. So if you got care, if you got worry, push it down. That's the simple translation of the pasuk in Mishlei Yud Bet. But the Gemara already brings a machloket. Can we see where I'm reading in section 2? Stephen, will you read it for us?
Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi dispute the verse, meaning one said he should forcefully push it, Yeshana, out of his mind. One who worried should banish his concern from his thought. And one said it means he should tell, Yeshina.
Yesichena. He changes the shin to a sin. What's siach? Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh. To talk, sicha, is to talk, siach, is to talk. That's why some people say Yitzchak went out to the field to talk. Maybe it was davening mincha, right? Maybe it means prayer. Anyways, he says it means you should tell others. Go ahead.
Others his concern, which will lower his anxiety.
So you've daga belevish. The problem is, it starts off, you're anxious about something. You have an issue. It's in your heart. You don't know what to do with it. Two interpretations what the pasuk is telling us. Yashchena. The simple reading is it's a shin, not a sin. Yashchena shuach means to push low. Push it down. Push it aside. You're worried? Don't worry, be happy. Sounds like Rabbi Ami is saying. He says, just be positive, don't think about it, don't dwell on it, it'll take care of itself. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is the one we're focusing on now. Da'ageh b'leish yesichena. Siach. Talk about it. Talk about it. Tell it to others. Tell it to somebody else. Maybe a man of understanding will help you get rid of your anxiety. Talk therapy. Seems to be what Rabbi Yassi is saying, or one of them. We said one and one, we don't know which is which. But Rabbi Ami or Rabbi Yassi, if it's in one of them said, you should talk it out with someone else.
So one guy says, put it away. The other guy says, draw it out.
Exactly. Amazing Torah that we have. It's so flexible. They both understand the Pasuk and Mishlei differently. Okay. Just like we saw, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. What does it mean, love your neighbor as yourself? We saw machloket. There's different ways of understanding the pasuk. What do we say? Who's right and who's wrong?
They're both right. That's right.
They're
both right. At the same time.
Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. These and those are the words of the living God. Shivim panim la'Torah. There's 70 faces for the Torah, right? We don't say that one's right, one's wrong.
Maybe we should.
We believe the Torah is godly.
No, but you look at
godly advice.
You look at Machloket and you see Rabbi Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai.
Yeah.
We always follow one of them. We don't follow both.
You chose the one example, but that's also the one exception. But really. That question that was raised was just about how you practice. Of course, you have to practice. You have to follow one. But it doesn't mean that that's absolutely the absolute truth. We have to have some guidelines how to practice. But in terms of when it comes to the theoretical understanding of things, it could be they're both raising an issue, or an approach, or perspective, which is true. In any case, the second one here is the one that's usually quoted. People don't even know that the original pasuk says yashchena. People just think that pasuk says da'ageh b'leish ish yesichena, because the idea of talking something out when you're anxious, when you have a da'agah means worry. You're worried about something. Go talk to someone. That's become very common advice. You have a worry in your heart, so talk about it. Talk it out. Go talk to someone. And
sorry, that was the thing.
I see. This is actually precursor to what we started with. Rav Yosef Albo, he was talking about understanding the other, sharing with the other. This is even to make sure you understand yourself, first of all. So many times, relationship, one helps the other understand each other. Maybe sometimes the other one knows you better than you know yourself, right? That's the concept. You become one unity. And how does that happen? Through talking it out. Yesichena la'acherim. Chadamar yesichena la'acherim. That's the Hebrew. And number 2, the second opinion. Tell to others. The third pasuk is from Shir Hashirim. Shir Hashirim says as follows: Patachti ani ledudi. Everybody see what number 3?
Read it every Mitzvah Shabbat.
Yafeh. Some people read it on Friday afternoon. Patachti ani ledudi vedudi chamak avar. I opened the door for my beloved, and what happened? My beloved went away. I was too late. Right? You know the story. She's lying on her bed, and she's been waiting forever, and finally she hears a knock, but it's cold. It's cold. She doesn't want to get out of bed, get under the covers, and her feet are going to get cold on the floor, and she's not dressed, and so she has to pull herself out of bed because it's just too cold, and she's lazy, and it's normal. Normal takes a while until by the time she gets out of the bed to the door, she opens up the door. There's nobody there. She was waiting for the beloved the whole day long, all night long. He finally comes, and it's too late. Patachti ani ledudi chamak avar, and then it says nafshi yatzah b'dabro. My soul came out as he spoke. It's unclear what that means. Simple interpretation perhaps means, it says here in the English, my beloved had turned and gone. I opened the door for my beloved had turned and gone. I was faint, nafshi yatzah could mean I was faint, because of him, or b'dabro could mean because of what he said. I was faint. V'lo matzatihu, I'll continue the pasuk. So I sought him, did not find him. Kratihu v'lo anani, I called out, but he did not answer. So the pasuk is just talking about this unrequited love, that I couldn't find him. Nafshi yatsa b'dabro, I fainted, I became weak when I heard his voice, but then I didn't have him. It's just another expression talking about this yearning which is unfulfilled. But the Baal Shem Tov interpreted as follows. Here I don't have English. I didn't get a chance to translate it. I'll translate it on the fly. Take a look in the Hebrew. In Parshat Vayishlach, he says, "Ve'amar od nafshi yatsa b'dabro ki hinei katuv Baal Shem Tov zalha ki inyan ruach ha'adam b'kirbo v'chiyut shelo ukoach adibur sheb'kirbo." Your spirit of man, which is inside you, and your life, your life sense, life itself is attached to the power of speech. Koach hadibur. Nafshi, my soul, came out bedabro. When he spoke, or even what he wants to say is that when you speak, your soul comes out. Right? The first pasuk of Mishlei is, how are we going to get those deep waters, those thoughts of a man which are in the deep waters? You got to draw them out somehow. How do you do that? By talking. Nafshi yatsa b'dabro. K'mo she'amar katuv, vayipach ba'apav nishmat chayim. He says, Vayhi adam lenefesh chaya. It says in Bereshit that God breathed the breath of life into man and he became a living soul. What does the Targum Onkelos interpret? He became a living soul. Umetargeminan leruach memalala. A living spirit, Onkelos says, a speaking spirit.
Before he was alive but couldn't talk?
He wasn't considered alive until he could talk. By the way, I heard this, I think it's a close, it's a nice idea that we know nowadays that there were humanoids much more than 6,000 years ago. We find, there were, entire communities, different types of skeletons we found of people, of Neanderthals, all different types of levels. So what's special about 6,000 years? Could be nothing. Could be it's a metaphor, but could be also around between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. The first indications we have of human speech connects a little bit to what Onkelos interprets. What does it mean the man became alive? He became a living spirit, a nefesh chaya, a living being. He says, a spirit that speaks. So your soul, your innermost soul, we talked about the things that are deep inside you that you don't even know, it's connected to the power of speech. The power of speech is what, and he's saying this is a spiritual, it's not just a tool. What's a tool? Gonchi. It's not just an instrument, which is like a wrench or a hammer or a screwdriver. It's not something technical. It's actually spiritually true. The faculty of speech is connected to your innermost soul. This is what Lefi zeh, I'm reading the third last line. K'she'adam medaber diburim, when you speak as a diburim haim, hein chiyuto. The words that you come out and saying, these are your life force. V'yotzeh chiyut shelo batan diburim, and your life force comes out when you speak. Your speaking expresses your soul, is what he's trying to say. Not only that, he says when you speak, you get you get a renewed life through the act of speaking. And so, I think women, they live this. It's sort of like intuitively, they intuitively know that for them to feel alive, they have to talk. They have to talk to their friends. They have to talk to somebody. And that's just a part of how they express themselves, who they are, their life forces, is to talk to someone else about it. And sometimes the men have to learn about this tool, about this technique a little more. And it's not so easy for men. One thing at a time, and we'll do your private therapy later. Could be that they're more connected to this technique, this method, and maybe to their souls in an easier way. But we talk about Ahavta l'reacha kamocha being an expression of yourself and sharing that self with others. Primary technique is to learn how to talk. I've been talking all day. We all know how to talk. How to talk, to draw out the wisdom or the understanding from within yourself and from within the other person. This is already a deeper tool that we have to learn. You don't have to become a psychologist. You don't have to become a professional. But to have a relationship, you have to know how to have a conversation, which is not just, hey, how's it going? Baruch Hashem. What a wonderful conversation we just had. So deep, but we have to learn. We have to learn how to have conversations. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll be able to reach Havta l'reacha kamocha. Sorry?
Talk about that, you will get the conversation.
Yeah, you could talk about everything but what's really important sometimes.